Hello, right now it is August 21st and it is 1:21 p.m. So basically right now I'm making a video about Gasha Firozvi and Adnan Shamim. One of the things that I can guarantee the courts is the fact that Gasha Firozvi will not get the point of why it is that my mother had to have me adult supervised by anyone willing to watch me for free. He will continuously be asking the question, well, then why didn't she change the place? Why didn't she change the place? Why didn't she change the place? And for the courts, it's going to sound a lot like Marie Antoinette saying, if they're so hungry, why don't they just eat cake? And the courts are not going to get this person's history. I will let the courts know very quickly. Gasha Firozvi is someone who was born into money. He went to a private school in Maryland by the name McDonough from the time he was a child. He's never seen poverty. He doesn't know what necessity is. He doesn't know what any of these things are. When Gasha Firozvi keeps repeating the words, why didn't she find another place? Why didn't she find another place? Why didn't she find another place? For the courts, it's going to sound a lot like Marie Antoinette keep on saying the words, if they're so hungry, why don't they just eat cake? But there's a history behind this man due to which he does not even know what necessity even is of a single mother and what life is like living in with a single mother working at a fast food restaurant and that being your only means of being able to be provided for. So basically, one of the things that the courts have to understand is the fact that Gasha Firozvi right now and Adnan Shamim were messaged by people like Kelly from law enforcement and by Miss Hopkins. Miss Hopkins, the courts have to understand, is someone who ran after me very aggressively. As soon as she heard the news that Ibrahim the Greedy Framer had a kidney failure and that his family was scared to send him back to court, she literally started crying and messaging Gasha Firozvi and Adnan Shamim saying, please do something, or else his brain savant's going to get, she probably only wrote in there, please do something. But the reason was due to my son's brain savant getting freed and the money going to some other person's daughter rather than me. That was the main point. That was why Miss Hopkins texted Adnan Shamim and Gasha Firozvi to go. Miss Hopkins is one of those people who pursued me very aggressively. She ran after me, and at one time I even said, it's fine. After my brain savant gets freed, I guess I'll go to you. But the fact of the matter is, Miss Hopkins did things like... she would do things like on December 11th, she had law enforcement brutally torture me with severe mental torture drugs. At extreme potencies on December 11th, just to get me to say, tell her who it was from law enforcement who told me about about something about her. They're not letting me talk right now. Okay. Miss Hopkins had me brutally tortured on December 11th by law enforcement who used severe mental torture drugs on me, due to which they're not letting me talk right now. She had law enforcement use severe mental torture drugs on me on December 11th. Just so that I would tell law enforcement who it was that told me about something about Miss Hopkins. And obviously it was Kelly. Who else would it be? Anyways, fact of the matter is, Miss Hopkins was running after me very aggressively. But after that incident on December 11th, I backed away from her and I told her to get away from me, mainly due to the fact that not only did she have bad habits, but also due to the fact that she would have me tortured to find out these things that have nothing to do with anything and they're not part of law enforcement's work. So yeah. Right afterwards, Miss Hopkins ran after me very aggressively, and I told her to back away from me and to leave me alone. I was not in the mood for doing anything, and I just wanted to be left alone. Yeah. So basically, that is what happened. So what ended up happening was Miss Hopkins went and she slept with people like Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim. And then as soon as she saw that Ibrahim the Greedy Framer had a kidney failure, she quickly texted them along with Kelly. Kelly also texted them and said, please do something or else his brain savant is going to get freed. And the brain savant money is going to go to someone else's daughter rather than me. Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim are only doing this due to their own sex rage and to help out one of their mistresses in locking up my brain savant because I refused to marry her in order to get revenge from me. And the text messages will easily show and prove to the courts this point. Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim, the moment Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer, had a kidney failure for taking drugs, they were texted by Miss Hopkins telling them to quickly do something, and she started crying saying, quickly do something, or else his brain savant is going to get freed, and that brain savant money is going to go to someone else's daughter rather than me. Kelly did the exact same thing. Kelly also slept with Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim and then asked them to please do something as soon as she found out that Ibrahim the Greedy Framer had a kidney failure. People like Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim are doing this due to their sex rage. You have to understand the fact that Kelly from law enforcement pursued me very aggressively as well. Okay, I could prove that to the courts right now very clearly and very quickly. Yes, so basically what ended up happening was on July 18, it was overanalyzed. The brain savant test was overanalyzed and something that law enforcement should not have done in the first place. Well, good for me. I don't care. But fact of the matter is, law enforcement ended up overanalyzing the brain savant test from June 24th. The courts have to understand what a brain savant test really means. When you're doing a brain savant test for 1 minute, it's usually less than a minute, so I can't be seen performing out in the open with it. What ends up happening is they let go of my brain savant for less than a minute, which means that the entire time before then and the entire time after then, it's completely locked, is what a brain savant test really means. It means that it's locked, which is why they unlock it for less than a minute. Now, the thing about it is, the law enforcement ended up analyzing it. The results came out July 8th. Obviously, Kelly ran after me July 8th, and I knew that this is when the results basically came out. Now, the thing about my brain savant is I have superhuman powers, thousands of times better than normal human beings in terms of instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing. Innovation was tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025, right when I was laying in this bed right over here. And I also have instantaneous photographic memory and focusing. Focusing means I do not need to take breaks, which was tested for 6 hours on August 9th, 2022. Now, the thing is, Kelly ran after me very aggressively. Afterwards, what ended up happening was Adamji was a liar. He was an envious liar, and he was making up lies. They found out later on. Adamji obviously does not know. Adamji obviously saw the fact that right before, they're not letting me talk, right before he made up the lies, he actually saw himself the fact that they had every single second of recording of me being overseas. Now, with these tools being able to lock up my brain savant, unlike how it was April 22nd, 2025, where these ears were all the way in the back of my head and my brain on the inside was just like this. It was just like zing, 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 zing. It was extremely powerful, 1,000 times more than normal human beings. And the artificial intelligence report will tell you that. Obviously, they're not going to argue against the artificial intelligence report anymore or say that it's flawed or anything like that, because if they do, then I'll say that it's flawed too. And then the courts are going to be forced to administer a 30-minute test to find out exactly what the truth is, because they have to get to the bottom of every single piece of evidence. They're not going to deprive themselves of the crucial piece of evidence when all the law enforcement's done is run sex schemes and money fraud since 2001, and I've been claiming that the only reason they're obsessed with me is due to my brain savant. So if the other side argues that artificial intelligence is flawed, then I'll also argue that artificial intelligence is flawed. at which point courts are going to be forced to not deprive itself of a crucial piece of evidence, which is my brain savant, since I've been claiming that this is the reason why law enforcement's been obsessed with me since day one. And if they argue this, then I'll argue this too. And then the courts are going to be forced to administer a 30-minute test. So basically, yes, that is what happened. The brain savant test, artificial intelligence was basically overanalyzed by July 18. It was overanalyzed by July 18. And so what ended up happening was, yes, it was found out that I was obviously telling the truth all along. I'm not going to lie about something that could be found out in 30 minutes. And obviously the reason they're not wanting to find out in 30 minutes is because they know I'm telling the truth. That is common sense. That's what common sense dictates. Or else they would have done a 30-minute test like how they did a 1-minute test in Moscow, Russia on November 14, 2025 in front of the entire world. They would have done a 30-minute test to show what nothing burger I really am, which they refuse to do only because they know I'm telling the truth. Well, the results came out on July 18, and what we found out from June 24 being overanalyzed is the fact that I do have brain savant powers that are thousands of times better than normal human beings. I have instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and I have focusing, and that my powers increase over time, which means that a textbook like Arenbaugh's Medicinal Chemistry I could do in less than 1 day's time, cover to cover, know it with photographic memory. And I also have innovation, which means that in 30 days, that would be more than 30,000 pages. With innovation being a superhuman power of mine, I could get done with something like Manoj Bhargava's 5-hour energy drink every 30 days, what normal human being does once in their lifetime and runs on the patent of that thing once in their lifetime. I could do every 30 days, which has been proven from artificial intelligence. I'm laughing by July 18. I'm laughing because now they're not going to argue that artificial intelligence is flawed anymore. Because if they did, then I would also argue that artificial intelligence very much is flawed, and in which case the courts are going to be forced to do a 30-minute test, since the courts are not going to deprive themselves of a crucial piece of evidence, which is my brain savant, since I've been claiming that. So the only reason law enforcement's obsessed with me is because of this, since all they've done since day one is run sex schemes and money fraud, with Bushra Akhtar even saying things to me in 2019, and yet in November 2022, guess what they were doing? Running sex schemes with Uncle Joey, followed by money fraud the entire year. So yes, so July 18, artificial intelligence, which I'm sure the other side is no longer going to argue is flawed, said that I do have these powers and that my instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing are thousands of times more powerful than normal human beings, and that I can get something like Manoj Bhargava's 5-hour energy drink done every 30 days, what normal human being looks forward to getting done once in their lifetime, and running on the patent of that for the entire life, I can get that done once every 30 days, is what artificial intelligence being overanalyzed on July 18 came out and said to the courts with its own mouth. Artificial intelligence obviously can speak. Obviously, they're not going to argue that it's flawed anymore. Artificial intelligence, they're not going to argue it's flawed anymore. Anyway, so then after July 18, obviously, Ibrahim the Greedy Farmer started advertising his sister to me. And yes, even he got greedy. Obviously I don't need to prove him because he's in the emergency room right now anyways. So this is how Kelly was running after me after July 18. By the way, I made a video on July 18 saying that Kelly is going to be running after me very aggressively right now afterwards and harassing me and annoying me. What I didn't know was she would be sleeping with people like Kashif Ferozi, Adnan Shamim, and asking them to testify against me in court to make sure that my brain savant money cannot go to some other girl if it's not going to her. So on July 21st, my predictions came true that I predicted on July 18 on video very clearly. July 21st, Kelly from law enforcement is sending me all these dirty pictures of a girl kissing a guy in chains. Same thing, July 21st, she's saying, basically saying tonight, as in, you come run after me tonight. And then on July 21st, all these ads started coming over and over again. And then on July 22nd, it was the exact same thing. Dirty videos started popping up again. This July 22nd decorators ad, it's going to say, obviously, it's going to say stand out, decorators stand out. It's supposed to be a dirty ad. Then you also have leaf filters, gutter guards, okay? Yeah, and then also booking to, while encouraging me to use my credit card, which I never use. Yeah. So this kept on going on and on and on, every single day, all day, every day. Yes, even threatening to murder me with a Desperate Housewives episode, saying that about a person who goes and murders people. So basically, Kelly ran after me very aggressively afterwards, is my point. What ended up happening was law enforcement does not know when to quit. So they literally kept artificial intelligence like a suspect in custody, and they tortured it all day and night long by overanalyzing it over and over again. It's not in my best interest to say this, but quitting while you're still ahead is not the same as quitting. Law enforcement does not get this point. They kept overanalyzing artificial intelligence only because it could speak all day and night long. Obviously, I'm not psychic, due to which I cannot predict what the report says, especially details like the fact that I'm the only brain savant in the world whose powers increase over time, proven through the numerous tests that have been done. I'm not psychic, and artificial intelligence is not going to lie for me. Basically, yes. So what ended up happening was Kelly from law enforcement was a front row seat spectator to the artificial intelligence being overanalyzed every single day. So Kelly from law enforcement, what she ended up doing was she started running after me very aggressively when she found out that it was overanalyzed every single day, finding out more and more details about how powerful it is, how powerful it gets over time, and all of these things. So basically, yes. And then she starts, and by the way, everything has been sorted out. There's no argument about this. They're little things, they're tools. I call them the time machine, because on January 20th, 2026, they were able to basically go through how my brain savant was like when I was a 9-year-old child by telling that artificial intelligence to lock up my entire brain except for the childhood autistic part, due to which I was able to watch documentaries like how I did when I was a 9-year-old child, proving from facts and evidence is the fact that this is how my brain savant started off when I was a 9-year-old child, clearly proving what and how it really is like. So now, obviously, August 9th, and that is her advertising. And then obviously look at the date over there, same thing, August 9th, 5:07 p.m. And this is how she starts advertising afterwards. Yes. And then obviously August 9th, and she's advertising like that. That's Kelly from law enforcement asking me to use my credit cards to run after her. Okay. All day light long, she's trying to advertise herself to me. Same threats are increasing, murder you threats if I go with someone else. Now, that clearly proves to the court the fact that as soon as she saw that Ibrahim, the greedy framer, was had kidney failure and was in the hospital, she and what's her name, Miss Hopkins, quickly texted Adnan Shamim and Kashif Rosvi saying, please do something, or else his brain savant is going to get freed, and that money, brain savant money, is going to go to someone else's daughter rather than us or me. So that is why they came in. They, Kashif Rosvi and Adnan Shamim, are basically working on their sex rage, proven clearly from the fact that their text messages will clearly prove that they were texted by Ms. Hopkins and by Kelly from law enforcement to go and testify against me in court, clearly proven from facts and evidence is the fact that they were only testifying against me in court due to their own sex rage, and Kelly from law enforcement and Ms. Hopkins were asking them, begging them, crying to them to do this, to testify against me in court due to the fact to get revenge from me and to make sure that my brain savant money that what did not go to them cannot go to anyone else. Yes. So basically, yeah, that is what happened. Yes. So this is their motive for testifying against me, clearly proven from their own text messages, where the people that were sleeping with them were Miss Hopkins and Kelly from law enforcement, and these people literally texted them right before they came in saying, please do something or else his brain savant is going to get freed, and that money is going to go to someone else's daughter rather than us, which means that Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim are basically doing this due to their sex rage and nothing else, and to help out their mistresses get revenge from me, to make sure that my brain savant money that did not go to them cannot go to anyone else. Obviously, one of the people who cannot be quoted in this trial is Adamji, not only because of the fact that obviously he lied and he was caught fabricating, and he was caught saying why he was fabricating, saying, I'm extremely envious of Hassan. I wish I could have gotten him kicked out of that country along with everyone else who lives overseas and forced back over to their own countries out of extreme envy. And he said that this is out of extreme envy, but also due to the fact that recently law enforcement became really desperate to find instances of me being either sexually perverted or a drug addict, and they went through every single second that I was overseas, only to find out that there was not one instance of me being a drug addict or sexually perverted individual, but instead all I would do all day long was study all day and night long. I had a keenness and eagerness for learning, and all I would do was study all day and night long. The only thing I would do to take a break was watch The Men Who Built America on the weekends, and that was literally all I did when I was overseas. And so obviously this clearly proves to the court the fact that every single second is there of evidence for and against is there as evidence that every single thing that Adamji is saying is complete, total lie and falsehood. Obviously, the entire time my brain savant was locked, like how it is right now, which means that the surveillance equipment can literally, they would hear every single whisper. The biggest evidence of this is Adamji, who was caught lying the entire month of July, and I'm sure on August the 7th, he was whispering to the person that he found after trying to deceive the courts by saying, I've been caught lying numerous times. He hasn't, and then he told the other guy to go ahead and narrate against me. August the 7th, I can guarantee the courts that he was whispering to this person on what to fabricate against me. And guess what? All of his whispers were all caught, only because of the surveillance equipment that they have, that they use, that are able to catch even whispers and every single thing. So if every single thing I said while I was overseas, while my brain savant was obviously locked up, is on file, then, and they just checked that right now, then it's impossible for Adamji to be right in the first place if we don't even worry about the fact that he's obviously been caught lying over and over again, and then he played a game of deception with the courts by saying, I've been caught lying, he hasn't, he wants to testify, this sort of thing. But let's say that hadn't happened and he wasn't caught lying. It would have been impossible for him to be right in the first place, since every single second of me being overseas with my brain savant being locked up is on file, which means that even my whispers are on file, which means that it's literally impossible for Adamji to be right in what he's trying to say against me. He should know this. Of all the people, Adamji should know this, because we all know in this trial that after he was caught lying throughout the entire month of July, Adamji on August the 7th was whispering to the fifth person by telling him every single thing that he had to fabricate, and even Adamji's whispers were all caught. So of all the people, Adamji should know about the surveillance equipment. So yes, that's all I had to say. The reason Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim are testifying against me in court right now is due to their own mistresses, like Kelly from law enforcement and Ms. Hopkins, begging them and saying, do something or else that brain savant money is going to go to someone else. Kelly from law enforcement enforcement after I showed you the dirty pictures that she sent me. Basically, afterwards, what she ended up doing was she ran after me. She even tried to have one of my neighbors, who's married, by the way, walk her dog right by my balcony wearing very less clothes. And obviously, I didn't look. I would look away every single time she would walk by, but I know for a fact what their trick was to try to seduce me, due to which I started having my blinds closed. And then even after that, Kelly from law enforcement would have her dog bark on my window to try to get me to open my blinds up, at which point I told him, get the heck off my face, mainly due to the fact I already have someone in mind and I'm very faithful. And yes, so Kelly from law enforcement was pursuing me so aggressively. She was trying to get me seduced by someone else to try to make up to me so that she could herself then run after me by trying to get someone else to sleep with me. Yes, and right now, even right now, we know for a fact that, so even right now, what is going on is Junaid is still running after Miss Hopkins and asking me to go after her. Okay, and it says together, go together, as in you go get her and then you send her over to me. Why would I go to someone who is literally trying to have me framed and have my brain salon locked up only out of envy that she's not getting any of the money, and so no one else should either. And Junaid is even having law enforcement put the same threats for slashing my tires and giving me a flat tire to try to threaten me to so that I would comply to his request. He's just as sexually addicted as Kashif Ferozvi or Adnan Shamim would be. The only thing is, Junaid isn't getting anyone, and so all he's doing is basically threatening me due to the fact that he knows that if I try to go after them, then I guess he thinks that I wouldn't have any problems. But obviously, I'm faithful towards the person that I want. So obviously, I wouldn't do something like that. I don't need to. But the fact of the matter is, these people are working due to their own sex rage for these girls and women who are encouraging them to do so, to only to try to frame me to get revenge and make sure that my brain savant money that could not go to them cannot go to anyone else. All these people trying to testify against me right now. Junaid, who's threatening me all day and night long, saying that he's gonna slash my tires. Okay, look at the date on this. Okay, saying that he's going to slash my tires if I don't help him go and scam, well, these women or girls or whatever, go sleep with them and then pass them around to him all day and night long. He's sending me all these threats, and we know for a fact that Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim are basically they are basically working due to their mistresses like Miss Hopkins and Kelly Kelly from law enforcement, basically crying to them and saying, do something, or else his brain savant is going to get freed and that money is going to go to someone else's daughter rather than me. You know how aggressively Kelly from law enforcement pursued me just recently, where she even had her friend have her dog bark on my window to try to get me to sleep with her to make up with Kelly, when in fact I already have someone and I'm very faithful. And due to which, it just happened this week, due to which I told Kelly from law enforcement to tell her friend to get the heck off my face. Yes. So that is what happened, and it happened literally just this week. So these people like Kelly from law enforcement, who are begging people like Adnan Shamim and Kashif Ferozvi to testify against me in court, and Miss Hopkins, who's begging people like Adnan Shamim and Kashif Ferozvi to testify against me in court, are doing it for their revenge, for knowing that my brain savant money would go to someone else rather than themselves, if my brain savant would get freed, due to which they're begging them to testify against me in court. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim, therefore, if the text messages clearly show that right before they came in, they were texted by Miss Hopkins, or they were texted by Kelly from law enforcement saying, please do something or else his brain savant is going to get freed, then that clearly proves to the court from facts and evidences the fact that Kashif Ferozvi and Adnan Shamim are working due to their sex rage to make to appease their mistresses like Kelly from law enforcement and like Miss Hopkins, who are only texting them, asking them to do this while after sleeping with them to get revenge from me for not going with them and instead that brain savant money going to someone else's daughter. Thank you.